How's it going, ladies and Bruce's? I'm boy Sixkilla, and welcome back to the Divine Deception. It's time to jump back in, if we can, at least, to the next act of the ghost ship and Thane and all that, because I'm loving this story so far. Single wait. The waves were choppy. The night was dark. Our boat was rocketing forward in such an extreme speed I had to hold on to prevent myself from falling off. A massive freighter ship was gliding through the water aimed right at us. A masked assassin wanted to kill us. Both me and Lara's lives were in great danger. So then, getting bored seems unreasonable, huh? Definitely. Being bored in this situation is ludicrous. But this boat trip was taking longer than expected. Didn't look that far to shore, but I guess I was just horribly bad at gauging distance. Or maybe it was just hard to gauge boat distance in general. Whatever the case was, I was getting antsy just sitting there. No, I wasn't just antsy for no reason. If I was by myself, I'd probably still be overthinking every move of my own. What was throwing me off my game was the woman sitting right across from me. That awkward silence that lingered between us was, well, awkward. I didn't like it. And we had some time to kill. I should try to get a conversation going. So, nice weather we're having, huh? If looks could kill. Jeez. Okay, bad start. I can admit that. I'm just trying to get some conversation going. Why? I've got nothing better to do. You're implying talking with you would be better than silence. Respectfully, I disagree. Not remotely in the mood for this shit. That's, fair? Still, since we're in this together, shouldn't we... Yikes. I mean, I get being a little guarded in a situation like this, but what's with the open hostility? Part of me wanted to take her advice. Just shut up and wait until we get to shore. But when had I defaulted to just wanting to survive? Had I completely forgotten about my mission? It wasn't enough to just get out alive. I needed to collect all the information I could. Thane clearly knew the most about the Manjet, but getting information out of him was obviously a dead end. But Lara here? She clearly knew more about the Manjet as well. If I could get that out of her, well, I need to start with a rapport. Waiter? Huh? Waiter. You asked earlier what I did. I'm a waiter. A waiter at Casson's, really. Actually. Nice little place, up on the north side of Panthea. I know it. Nice place, I've eaten there a few times. That right. Funny, I can't say I recognise you. Likewise. Right, that place has a lot of waiters. No surprise we hadn't met before now. True. So yeah, my name's Mercury. I work as a waiter at Casson's. Not really a glamorous living, but you know. Getting a job in this economy? It's pretty rough, especially without prior experience. Ideally, waiter's not my end-all be-all job. Most people think that. Yeah. That's true enough. I'd maybe like to be, I don't know, a reporter or something one day? Alright. Although, if all cases are like this, maybe I should rethink things. You also asked what I was doing here, specifically, right? I was investigating the Manjet. You see, I had this friend when I was younger. JC Nazia. She was a reporter here at Panthea. Worked for the Oracle. You know her? Sorry, no, can't say I do. Ah, well, that's not a huge surprise. She was never a huge deal. And of course, she went missing not that long ago. Yeah, it's sort of a bit of a mood killer. But it's true. It's why I was on the Manjet. JC and I might have drifted apart, but when I heard about her disappearance, I couldn't just let that go. I got a tip from this person online who seemed to know a lot about the underground workings on Panthea. They said they actually recently learned something interesting about JC Nazir from one of their contacts. Oh, so he's a waiter, like the waiter that was the assassin, and the person that they met online, that hacker guy met online, right? The devil or whatever. He said he works for the devil. Oh my god, it's all coming together. Are they all the same person? Are we all the same person? That her disappearance might have been related to the Manjet. When I heard that, well, I decided I had to go check up on this place myself. Earlier today I was looking around it, and then for no discernible reason I passed out. What? I don't know what happened. My only guess was I was attacked by some sort of soporific. I didn't really see where it came from, but it's my only guess as to what happened. When I woke up, the ship was already out at sea. I poked around, found Thane killing people. He found me, and you can guess the rest. Although apparently Thane doesn't know why I ended up on that ship either. So you know, I'm really fucking clueless as to what's happening. But you want to explain my presence? That's it. I want to know more about the Manjet, and I ended up far more familiar with it than I expected. Although that's only in terms of the interior. Still fucking clueless about the history of it all, or or whatever's happening on it now. You want to know about the band yet? Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. Yes, I actually got her talking. I don't know much that you don't already know. Are you aware that the Manjet has been owned by the Duats for decades? I heard rumours to that effect. Nothing definitive or anything. Well, I'm telling you definitively. Manjet is Duat property. Always has been. Throughout the years, it has had a number of different purposes. Originally, it was used to help smuggle illegal immigrants into the country. Obviously, there was some front, but in reality, it was just a one-way trip to Panthea. Anyone could come in for a pretty penny, that is. Now, that was the sort of racket the Duats were built for. Profitable, easy, and harmless. Hell, helpful even. Of course, there was another big reason the higher-ups at the time liked it. Illegal immigrants have quite a bit of trouble getting legal jobs around these parts. Back in the day, the then governor of Panthea, Zahak, had some real arcane laws that made it near impossible to get employment as an illegal immigrant, or really anyone without identifying documents. Without many other options, a lot of those immigrants turned to the other places, always looking to hire new recruits. Duats. Right. Pretty smart. Well, this is one of the reasons the Duats rose to power way back when. At some time when national laws got stricter on the immigration front, Marduk must have decided the risk was too high. Instead, the Manjet took on a new life and became a smuggler's paradise for all sorts of contraband. Turns out smuggling in things is a lot easier than smuggling in people. Gave the Duats a nice little revenue stream. But again, eventually it was too high risk for an operation, so the Manjet was retired. In more recent times, the Manjet was basically a murder vessel. When people needed to disappear, it was pretty much common practice to trap them on one of the storage containers, wait till night, then sail out to the middle of the ocean and make them sleep with the fishes, if you catch my drift. Not exactly a subtle drift. I'm sorry. But if your friend ended up on that boat, I have to assume she didn't make it off. I felt something catch up in my throat. I mean, fuck. I always knew it was probable that JC was dead. Like 99% probable, but even still, her body was never found. Some small part of me always hoped that somehow, some way, she wasn't actually... Fuck. You're a higher up officer on the Duat totem pole, right? Don't deny it. On the ship, Thane pretty much said as much. I'm not denying it. Then did you ever hear anything about JC Nazia? I mean, I have to imagine giving the order to erase someone has to go through some people, right? I don't know what to say. I only rose to the level of senior officer relatively recently. The name sounds vaguely familiar, but honestly speaking, I don't remember ever hearing anything definitive about her. Okay. I am sorry. So, what was that we just walked in on? The Duats eliminating enemies? No, it wasn't. The Manjet shouldn't have been in use anytime recently, and yet my information suggests that it's been going out to sea every now and then as of late, which is connected with another serious piece of information I know. Certain Duat members are going missing. Oh? That alone doesn't mean anything. To be honest, that's pretty commonplace. The Duat lifestyle isn't exactly healthy. You get tons of deserters as well as a number of idiots who get themselves killed in some dumb way. But it's the exact opposite going missing that it's the exact people going missing that concerns me. Don't know where I found the word opposite. You see, the Duats are kind of in a cold war as of late. There are different factions within the organization. I'm helming one of them. And to put it lightly, I've been making more active moves for the inevitable upcoming conflict. I've been getting people on side. And yet, the people I've been colluding with, preparing with, they're the ones that have been going missing. I didn't think this was a coincidence. I suspected that this was a concerted effort by either Yi, Thane, or the two combined to undermine me. That a Duat senior officer was kidnapping Duat members and disappearing them to keep me in check. I thought it was connected to the reports of the Manjet going out to sea. Earlier today, Thane suspiciously left early. I followed him to the Manjet, stowed away on this lifeboat, and well, I guess my theory was more or less confirmed. Damn. I was pretty in the dark about all of this, but it seemed like things were pretty fucked at Duat HQ. And I'd almost gotten myself caught in the crossfire. So it sounds like Yi's at the top of the totem pole, man. I thought he didn't really like it, and he was just some guy who doesn't do field work and shit. That's what we were led to believe, but it sounds like he might be in on this extreme murder business. I wouldn't just call it murder. From what I saw in there, it was a bit more extreme than that. God, I'm gonna be sick just thinking about it again. It was full-on torture. What they did to that girl in the denim? It was at that point I realized Lara had resumed giving me the death glare. And then it dawned on me she was probably reasonably close to the people who ended up disappearing. So perhaps talking about their graphic deaths wasn't the coolest idea. Sorry. Just drop it. But, from the sounds of it, that torture wasn't pointless. Another glare. I mean, in the sense that Thane learned something. About you. He probably learned a lot about you. Lara was trying to dismiss the topic. How could he learn anything about me? None of them know who I am. But I wasn't willing to drop things so easily. The more information I could get out of this conversation, the better. He called you Miss Naomi. He stressed that last name. Is the name Naomi supposed to mean something? I didn't need to hear an answer. Lara's expression alone told me I was striking a nerve. What's that about exactly? It doesn't matter. It clearly mattered to Thane. Drop it, dipshit. This was not great. Despite being ostensibly allies, Lara here was a higher up in the duets, which means she was probably dangerous. Yeah, I was thinking that too. If I continued to tick her off, there's no telling what that might manifest as. If I was smart, I'd drop it. Look, please, I'm not going to tell anybody else. Well, there goes that idea. Why does it matter to you? It matters to me because it matters to you. Look, like it or not, right now we're kind of in the middle of something. We're in it together. And clearly it's something motivated by duet politics. If I have a better understanding of what's going on, I might be able to help you out in some way along the road. If it really is too personal, or too scandalous, or whatever the fuck, fine. Keep it to yourself. But if you tell me, I cross my heart, hope to die, I won't tell another soul. I'm a really honest person, so you can trust me. The only use I'd make of that information is trying to help us. At the very least, Lara was mulling over my proposal, and then she spoke up. Where are you from? Excuse me? Where are you from? Because you're sure as shit not from Panthea. If you were, you would have recognized the last name of Naomi. And why is that? Because it's the last name of the previous head of the Shikomes. Oh? Oh. Oh! Yeah. Wait, what? How was... Long story. Not a particularly interesting one either. To put it briefly, my mother was the leader of the Shikome. She wasn't that when she had me, of course, though she was involved with some criminal affairs, which is why she left me for adoption. But even while I grew up with my adopted family, she actually stayed in touch with me, met with me frequently, tried to connect with me, I guess. Eventually, she led me to lead the Shikome. They got in their stupid-ass gang war, and eventually the Shikome lost. A bunch of their members got busted by the police, my mum included, and because she was too chicken shit to face the music, she hung herself in prison. Jesus Christ, that's really awful, Lara. I'm sorry. Did I ask for your fucking sympathy? Sorry. But wait, if it's the duets responsible for your mother's death, then does that mean you're joining the duets and setting up for this gang war? Forget it, dipshit. Huh? I know what you're thinking, and it's stupid. I was never that close to my mother. Resented her more than anything. It was her own damn fault for getting in the damn war in the first place, and for utterly flubbing it. The reason I joined the duets was because they were the only gang worth of shit still standing. I have no spite towards Marduk. I wasn't sure how convinced I was of that last point. Close or not, if your mother was practically killed by a gang boss, would you really be that willing to work under him, without any hesitations? And then again, there wasn't any real need for Lara to tell me any of this stuff. Why lie about that detail? Now, given my background, she should probably suspect that I loathe the duets. I'd probably be more inclined to help her if I thought this was an elaborate revenge scheme. That said, I'm not sure everybody would see it that way. Hence why I haven't exactly advertised my parentage. Yeah, that's probably for the best. So wait, if Thane tells this to Marduk, who's to say? Who's to say how he'll take any of this? Thane and I, we're both standing on the edge of the unknown. On the one hand, let's look at my situation. Maybe Marduk could be understanding. From my conversations, he seems to have a begrudging respect for the Shikome. An understanding that it was all business. He's publicly said to end the feud and not harass any previous Shikome members. A few Shikome grunts even transferred to being duet grunts, with admittedly a bit of pushback. There's a reasonable chance that when Marduk learns the truth about me, he'll just shrug and move along. That where I came from shouldn't matter in determining how worthy I am. Alternatively, he could be irate beyond all belief. That behind his calm exterior, he has a burning resentment for how much the Shikome gave him trouble. That he'd never in a million years let the duet fall into the hands of a descendant of the Shikome for some honor shit. He might even want to get revenge on me or some shit. Or maybe even my Shikome blood doesn't even matter, in and of itself, but the fact that I hid it from him is unforgivable. It could break real bad. Damn. The exact same thing is true with Thane's situation though. If I've got the information that Thane was going out and killing duet members, Marduk might treat this as the ultimate betrayal. An utterly unforgivable act, worthy of execution. The idea has to at least be plaguing Thane, which is why he's so eager to silence me right now. But then again, maybe that's too hopeful of an outcome. Thinking back, it's bullshit, the idea that Marduk knows about what's happening. There's no chance of that. But Thane was right that I don't know if Marduk would really care. He's got a weird fucked up value system about taking power for yourself. Considering that Thane's likely doing this to try and inherit the Duat headship for himself, Marduk might admire that sort of ambition. He could be impressed that Thane was taking matters into his own hands. Impressed that Thane was killing Duat members. How the fuck does that make sense? It doesn't, but I can't rule it out knowing Marduk. Well, think about this. What proof do I have that any of this has happened? Thane could just as well deny any involvement, even when I lay it all out. He could start making it up to sabotage him. Especially if he blabs about my Shikome origins first, that'll really hit my credibility. Maybe he spins it as preventing a revolt. Maybe the arsehole will paint my actions as trying to lead a revival of the Shikome. Silent as he is, Thane's a sneaky fucker, and he has a lot of options on how he can play this. Huh. Yeah, neither of you can really be sure how things play out. Maybe I'd be a traitor, and Thane would be ambitious. Maybe Thane would be a monster, and I'd be rewarded for exposing the depravity of one of Marduk's senior officers. It's possible that, even if we revealed each other's secrets, Marduk wouldn't give a shit at all. He'd dismiss the whole thing as petty squabbling and repeat how he cares more about results for the Duats than anything else. Or maybe, the most likely possibility, we blow each other up and Marduk cuts both of us off. Neither of us are senior officers and the Duat headship falls to Yi, or somebody else, or nobody. It could devolve to complete anarchy, all depending on Marduk's whims. Damn, that's tricky. You're telling me. But you know, in some ways, aren't the two of you on a stalemate? Like if you both have something on on the other, aren't you kind of locked in a neutral state? That's only if Thane doesn't manage to off me here and now. Yeah, that'd be one way to break the stalemate, I guess. So, why are you even in the Duats? Huh? I mean, you said it's not for revenge. Sure, I'll buy that. But then why join them at all? I mean, I'm not trying to be confrontational at all. I'm smarter than that. Just, you know, they are a gang and all. Just wondering how you got caught up with them. Why am I with the Duats? Why does anyone do crime? For the money, dumbass. And couldn't you just, like, get a job? I don't see any reason why that shouldn't be a problem for you. I get more money faster this way. Ah. So that's it then. Look, the Duats aren't as bad as you're making them out to be. From your description, it sounds like they killed my friend. Can't say I'm exactly a fan. Lara didn't have a good response to that. They don't have to be. Huh? I remember talking with my mum long ago about what the Shikome really were. They had these lofty ideals about them being the defenders of the people, that they could keep other criminals in line, be it violent or white collar. The world's a shittier place that picks on the weak. But a group like the Shikome, a group like the Duats, they could be, should be, a place where underdogs can band together. It should give power to the people. We should be waging war against Olimpo, not cozying up to them. We should be protecting local shops, not bringing them into their knees. We should be taking in people with nowhere to go, not actively dragging civilians to our level. We shouldn't need to solve problems by taking them on a boat and shooting them in the back of the head. Some problems maybe, but in rare cases. I'm not saying that a gang can exactly be a beacon of morality, but it doesn't have to be evil or anything. Huh. Never really thought about it that way. Yeah, well, my mum never really lived up to those promises with the Shikome, and the Duats sure as shit haven't resembled anything like what I just described for a long ass time. But if I get the headship, that'll sure change. Huh? That was a much more idealistically driven response than I was expecting from Lara. Then, should I take her joining the Duats as an active effort to try and reform it from the inside? Following her mother's footsteps, not by trying to get active revenge, but trying to live up to her ideals. It was a nice thought. Sort of a fun spin on things. But I couldn't help be suspicious of a pitch about why this person inheriting a monstrous organization would actually be for the best. This is a biased pitch aimed directly at me. All I knew for sure was that Lara's mother used to lead the Shikome, and now she desperately wanted to lead the Duats herself. Everything beyond that, I had to take with a grain of salt. Still, it was best to play nice. That sounds nice. I think I'd like that. Yeah, well, you got everything you wanted to know? Pretty much? Good. Because in case you forgot, we're on the run right now. And our little respite's going to come to an end any second now. I looked forward and saw that she was totally right. The shore was now actually quite close. We'd hit it any second now. Which you'd think is a good thing. Unfortunately, I wasn't sure what the step after that would be. Scanning the shoreline, there wasn't exactly an obvious off-ramp. Huh. I could just see Panthea's forest over the little incline. As if reading my mind, Lara spoke up. Don't worry, I have a plan. You do? I think I generally know where we are, and I know a place we can hide out. Hide out? Well, it's that or try to outrace Thane through a forest back to the central area of Panthea. We may have a solid lead, but I'm not sure if that's a bet I want to take. Yeah, okay. We can go with your idea. As we barreled right to the shore, I realized that crashing into it at high speeds might actually be a very bad idea. Carefully, I made my way up to the front of the boat and slowed down the speed, as slow as it could go. It took a couple of seconds to slow down to the appropriate speed, and a few seconds after that, we were right by the shore. Lara stood up, got a bit of a running start, and jumped onto the rocky shore. That was fast, huh? Well, no time to waste. I followed in her steps, jumping onto solid ground. Whew! I took a couple of deep breaths, clutching my legs. My head was lowered, and somewhat spinning. All at once, a sudden sickness had come over me. Just actually being on, like, the actual earth again after everything was somewhat comforting, and somewhat disorienting. Those weren't the two emotions that I knew could coexist. Hey, if you get a puke, puke. We don't got time to waste. Lara snapped me back to reality. I could rest later. I looked back and saw the manjet was also extremely close to the shore. We had like maybe a minute of a head start. Alright, okay, let's get going. Without much difficulty, we climbed up to the outlook onto the forest. We took a few steps forward. So what's the plan? What's our speed? Huh? Should we speed through or go slow to try and hide our trail? We should book it. Thane's a great tracker. Wait, if Thane's a great tracker, then shouldn't we go slower? If we run, he's definitely going to be able to follow us. No, you don't understand. Thane's a great tracker. Even if we went slowly, it'd probably be possible for him to follow us. In that case, trying to lose him is pointless. We should just try to put as much distance on him as possible. A fucking master tracker? What goddamn skill set does Thane have? Your guess is as good as mine. Well, I wasn't going to argue with Lara. The two of us began to sprint through the woods. It was a really surreal experience. I mean, all of this had been surreal, but it was just catching up to me. The trees were starting to block out the moonlight, which had lit our journey up until this point. It was dark, crowded, hard to see, and we just kept running. Running through a forest of identical looking trees. I always thought I was a pretty fast runner, but Lara was keeping up with me pretty easily. Even though we were running pretty intensely, I still felt the need to ask her a question. I hope you know where we're going. Trust me, this is the direction we want to go. Probably. Probably? I'm like reasonably sure. I don't know how you can be when it's dark and identical. But fine. The two of us continued to run for a bit longer. Then my curiosity took over. Where exactly are we going? We're heading to Odin Deismer's mansion. I almost stopped in my tracks. The fuck? You heard me. It's around here somewhere. It's a good place to hide out. As good as we can hope for. Yeah, okay, but how do you know about it? When I was a bit younger, I stayed with Odin briefly. What the fuck? There's a goddamn story behind that. Not really. I mean, sort of. I just got into a big fight with my foster parents. I was already about to move out, but that sped up the timeline a bit before I was ready. I didn't have a lot of options. For whatever reason, I thought it was a good idea to break into some building in the forest and live there for a bit while I got my feet on the ground. I mean, a lot of these mansions are unoccupied a good amount of the year. Thought I had decent odds. Fucking bad plan. Yeah, I know that now. Like, I wasn't thinking clearly back then. Stuff was happening. Anyways, I eventually found and broke into Odin Deismer's mansion. Surprise, surprise, it wasn't actually unoccupied. When he found me, I thought I was super screwed. But the old dude was weird. He gave me a chance to prove my worth. He made me play this stupid game against him involving stars or something. And he won? How do you get off sounding so surprised at that? No, as a matter of fact, I didn't win. But apparently, I did well enough that I still earned my keep. He let me stay there for a bit. Next day he made me play again, and again after that. As I stayed in the mansion, I'd have to play his stupid games. Usually the star game, but he threw in a few others for spice. Weird, but if it was the rent, I'd take it. Weird is definitely the word for it. Actually, that's underselling it. You want my theory? All his sons at that point had moved out. That guy would never admit it, but I kind of suspected that deep down he was kind of getting lonely. He liked the company I posed. Anyway, I only stayed there as long as I needed to get back on my feet. Once I'd properly joined the duets, we parted ways. But I still remember the mansion quite well. And if I do remember it right, the trees began to clear up, and all of a sudden, we were in a clearing. The mansion should be roughly around here. Whoa. Okay, I'll be honest, I didn't think that I'd be that dead on. Like, even I'm impressed. I'll say. Honestly, considering it was Odin Deismer's we were talking about, the mansion wasn't even all that extravagant. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was fucking huge. Properly fancy, nice looking bit of property. But I mean, I could see the whole thing from one perspective. Knowing Odin, I wouldn't have been overly surprised if I was faced with like a castle or something. Damn. Well, you sure came through. Question is, how should we get in? Isn't it obvious? We just gotta knock on the front door. Oh, you can ask him directly to shelter us? Of course. Why wouldn't he? Lara began moving forwards, but I stayed still, deep in thought. After a few steps, Lara turned back to me, annoyed. You coming? Wait, huh? I don't think we should just ask Odin for help. What? Why? I don't know if he'd actually help us. Why wouldn't he? There's a chance he's somehow involved with everything. I mean, he's the resident king of Panthea, right? It would be out of character for him to have wouldn't be out of character for him to have a connection with something like the Manjet, right? Really? You're barking up the wrong tree there. I'm pretty sure Odin doesn't have anything to do with that. Trust me, I'm a Duat senior officer. True, but you also didn't know about the Manjet before now. Clearly you don't know everything. I mean, sure, but... Lara faltered. I just feel uncomfortable putting our lives in the hands of in his hands in any capacity, really. Like, here's another possibility. What if he hears our story and says, very well then, you should try to fend for yourself, and if you truly deserve to live, shutting us out. You can't say you wouldn't do something like that. I guess, yeah. Alright then, so what's your plan? My plan? We just break in and hide, right? Sure. Actually, here's a question. Is Odin even here? I looked around before spotting something. Well, his car is here. So probably. Right. But at this time of night, he's probably asleep. Okay, but maybe we can't count on that. So how do we get in? If you stayed here, wouldn't you have a better idea? Right. Okay, best chance is probably this way. I began walking around the mansion, and I followed her. Out back there was a rather large garden, carefully managed. It probably looked beautiful under better circumstances. I couldn't really appreciate it right now, though. Instead, my focus is on the back deck, with large windowed double doors. This is probably the entrance Lara planned on going through. Alright, cool. Let me guess, it's locked. Yeah. Damn. Luckily, there's a lock right here. You know how to get through this? Damn right I do. Lara moved up to the door, then with a small rock she must have grabbed at some point, she smashed the closest glass panel. Then she began to reach through the opening with one of her hands. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind. It worked. That it did, I guess. Alright, unlocked now. Lara grabbed the door handle and began to open it. Wait! Lara froze up at the last possible second. What? That... I pointed to the opposite side of the door Lara was opening. There was a little metal box on it. I recognized it well enough. That's a sensor. I bet there's one on the other doors as well. If the two separate far enough, it'll probably trigger an alarm. Oh shit, you're right. Good catch. So wait, what do we do? I spent a second thinking about it. Just keep the door right there. I moved forwards, got on my tiptoes and grabbed the sensor. I pulled with some force and with a bit of resistance managed to wrench the sensor from the door. Then I just held it high in place. Lara then opened the door fully and I walked inside. I also moved through, all the while holding the sensor as close to its original position as possible. Nice. Yeah, a little problem here. I don't think I could just put this thing back on the door. I guess... On the inside of the mansion now, I could actually see the other box sensor on the other door. I reached over to that and very carefully pulled that loose too. Finally, I gently placed the two sensors on the floor right next to each other. Whew. Okay, we're good now. Awesome. Finally, I could take a moment to really look around this place. Yep, this is Odin Dysm's mansion, alright. Pristine, clean, filled with strange artifacts everywhere you look. It was frankly a cliche. I was kind of hoping for something a bit more bizarre than this. Still, you couldn't doubt its beauty. But just looking around the place wasn't going to solve shit. We were still in the thick of things. We needed actual solutions, and fast. As much as I'd love to go for a little house tour, I don't think that just standing around in the living room like this is going to be great. Yeah, not exactly a solution, is it? If Thane's tracking us, he'll get here soon. He might already be outside. He's likely to break in the same way too. I was actually more concerned about Odin. He might have heard us sneak in. And it's the dead of night. You think that'll stop him? Fair point. If he did hear us, he's going to be looking around. And if he finds us, he might be as much of a danger as Thane. Yeah, he does seem like the type to invoke the castle doctrine, huh? Pretty much. Fuck. We could try stealing his car. Huh? The car out front, we could try to steal it, drive it back to the middle of Panthea. We should be safe there. God damn it. Why didn't you fucking bring that idea up before now? I didn't think of it. And what a waste of my time. My fault for not assuming you knew how to hotwire a car, I guess. I don't know how to hotwire a car. You don't? Oh. And how the fuck are you suggesting we steal it? I thought you knew how to hotwire it. Oh wow, really? Ain't that presumptuous? You're a criminal. Oh, so all criminals know all criminal skills? Real mature, Mercury. Real mature. Okay, forget it. If getting away is out, then we'll just have to hide somewhere in the house. Surely the key for the car is in the house somewhere. If we woke Odin, he'd look around, not find anybody, and go back to sleep. When Thane catches up, if he catches up that is, he'll either sneak in here silently, look around, fail to find us and leave, or he'll come in guns blazing, get in a big spat with Odin, the two will fight, cops are likely to be called. There'll be a lot of chaos one way or the other. And if we're just hiding somewhere, we'll be safe, and know when to get out of town. That makes sense. Question is, where do we hide? You know this place apparently. You have any bright ideas? Lara looked like she was going into deep thought. Then she spoke up. I think I have an idea. It's just an idea though, and it might be a bit overkill. Maybe we could just hide in a closet or something. I know you said you had an idea. I could not inquire further. What's the idea? Okay, so when I was staying here, I remember late one night seeing something weird. It actually, you know what? It'd be quicker to just show you. By all means, lead the way. Has it got a secret door or something? Lara then took the initiative, leading me out one door and through the building's halls. This place was a fucking mansion, huh? Nobody needed this much living space. Before long, Lara had brought me around a corner to a particularly conspicuous black doorway. Standing outside it, she hesitated momentarily. Okay, so, like I said, late at night, was a little groggy, but I swore I saw Odin turn that corner. Made my way over to the store, thinking he must have come this way, but when I entered, he was nowhere to be seen. Let me guess, there weren't any other exits. So you think there's like a secret passage or something? Look, you can be the judge of that. The room's weird, but for there to actually be anything hidden in it, well, let's just enter and you'll see for yourself. Then she opened the door and walked in. I followed her. Stepping inside, the immediate purpose of this room was somewhat lost on me. It was a small circular room, mostly white, somewhat grand architecture accentuating everything. Around the room on pedestals were 3 mannequins decked out in armor and weaponry. The one on my left wore leather robes and held a bow staff out with both arms. On the pedestal below it, the name Jindi was written. The mannequin in front wore an outfit with a lot of elaborate furs, and both arms were clasped atop the base of a long hammer that reached the pedestal. On this pedestal, Ptah was written. Finally, to the right, a warrior stood clad in metal armor, shield held out in one hand, spear in the other, reaching down to the pedestal. This one was named Nemesis. Above each of the mannequins, an identical clock was hung on the wall. Funnily enough, none of the clocks seemed to be functioning. Above Zindi, the clock read 12 o'clock. Above Ptah, the clock read 6:30, and above Nemesis, the clock was 8 o'clock. Finally, in the center of the room by our feet, there was a black metal plaque, right on the ground, with a quote engraved in gold. To find the answer, you must know who was asking the question. The beginning and end of all things appear chaotic and entangled, but for those destined to rule, the truth is easily grasped. Odin Deismer. Wow, engraving your own quote in gold. If that doesn't say something about your ego, I don't know what does. As you can see, this is why I was skeptical of my own recollection. I mean, it doesn't look like there's anywhere for a secret passage or hangar or whatever the fuck could hide. Probably a dead end. Are you kidding me? This place has top secret crazy person riddle written all over it. There's probably some crazy hidden mechanism in this room. Isn't that just like a thing in books or whatever? Odin Deismer is literally the exact person who would commission something crazy like that in his mansion. Once again, I can't argue with you there. Your memory was totally right. There's something about this room. Something just waiting for us to figure out. Okay, but like you said, we'd have to figure it out. In case you forgot, we're kind of on a time crunch. If we're looking for hiding spots, there are a number of particularly lofty beds that we could probably hide under. No, we're figuring this out. I want to get to the bottom of this. Was this technically speaking the optimal course of action? I suspected not, but even still, I mean, come on. Who could resist a setup like this? And I was more than curious what secrets a man like Odin Deisman might want to hide in his closet. Maybe I'd learned what happened with JC. Maybe. But it was, at best, an incomplete picture. Even though there wasn't necessarily direct evidence tying Odin Deisman to anything involved with the whole situation, a character this crazy and influential probably had some influence on Panthea. Like before, I was just too curious. Fine, okay, have at it. I held up my hands, partly for effect, partly to try and help conceptualize things. This is one big puzzle. Everything in this room is deliberately placed, and the key? I pointed at the plaque. Is that quote. That's the truth to it all. That right? Lara ambivalently looked around the room. Gotta say, I'm not sure I'll be too much help in solving things. Oh, you're smart. Damn right I am. But I don't know a goddamn thing about Jindi or Ptah. And all I know about Nemesis is he's supposed to be the goddess of revenge or something. I don't think we need to know such specific details. I mean, maybe. But that would be leaning quite a bit on specific mythology, and I don't know if that's Odin's style. A riddle involving those details isn't exactly clever. Well, if that's the case, the fuck's the point of labeling these mannequins? I mean, you're the one that said everything was carefully placed, right? Yeah, hold on. Hey there. Just your local neighborhood EZ popping in for another minigame tutorial? We all know how this goes by now, so I'm just gonna get into it. Sometimes you need to think about things. I know, scary. But it doesn't have to be. Look, here's the deal. See that little doohickey in the top left corner? That's your brain button. BB for short. As you go through a logical series of thoughts, you might encounter words written in light blue text. Those words are a thought you're actively deliberating. If you press the BB when those words show up, you'll rearrange your thoughts to cycle through some other possibilities. Feel free to take some time, go through your options, and when you feel like you've got a solid train of logic going, just continue along your thinking, like you would at any time. Worst comes to worst, you get it wrong. You're an idiot. You get booted back to the first point your logic started to mess up. Everybody hates you. Low stakes. And that's about it for logic, at least for now. Pretty simple, right? Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. The difficulty of the train of logic, that's pretty variable. And it depends on how hard you want this to be. So, I'm sticking with easy all the way. You know that. Because I want to get through this one. We've got a lot of games to get to. Sure thing, easy difficulty coming right up. I'll try not to throw you too many curveballs, so just relax. Because we did that logic one with the Sudoku type one first, and that took so fucking long when I did it on normal that it put me off doing normal mode. And hey, while you're at it, take 3 chips each time you complete a logic minigame. Now keep in mind, every time you go down an incorrect train of logic, that power decreases by 1. So even though you're on easy, stay alert. Alright then, well, that's sort of everything I had to cover. I didn't have a lot of witty commentary here. I guess I'll just let you get to it then. Good luck logicking. Oh, and another thing about logic you maybe should know. You know how you're thinking about something and sometimes you get a total flash of inspiration? Yeah, you're in charge of that too. There's now a shiny new button for you to click, one with a light bulb on it. You can click on it if there's yellow text. But don't be all willy-nilly about it. Only try to brainstorm if said idea will actually lead to a solution to the question you're stuck on. Else you waste your time on a rabbit hole, and nobody likes a rabbit hole. Except for other rabbits, but... Okay, I see your expression. I'm sorry, I'll shut up. What was the secret to this plaque? I knew I could solve it, I just need to concentrate. What hints did I have towards solving the puzzle? The plaque was signed by Odin Deisman. However, I was willing to chalk that up to simple vanity on his part. The actual lines of the poem were the important part, like the bit about the beginning and end of all things being entangled and whatnot. Am I meant to hit this? For this? I don't know, let's keep going. If I read through it enough times, surely an answer would come to me. So I reread it. And I reread it. There was something here, but I needed to know what to start with. Shit. I must have made some mistake. Let me think of something else. The actual lines of the poem were the... Oh, okay, so I do have to push it. Hey, wait a moment. That specific phrase felt too specific. I lost a token already. It felt awkward in the context of the inscription, as though it was forced. The poem talks about the beginning and end of all things, but I had a feeling we were looking for something a bit more specific than that. What we should really be focusing on are the beginnings and ends of the clocks. Names. Outfits. I'll stick with clocks. The shorthand would be considered the beginning and the longhand could be the end. Collecting those numbers, you got 6, 6, 8, 12, 12, 12. Those numbers mean something. Maybe. No. I must have made some mistake. Let me think of something else. It must be the names then. Right. Jindi, Ptah, and Nemesis. That's what we were looking for. I could take the beginning and end of each of those names. They're all based off gods, which meant there was probably some mythological origin to them. There was something more to all this. Something else missing. Maybe I wasn't looking enough at the inscription. What was next? All things appear entangled, something like that. Did that refer to something? Maybe the letters were entangled and I need to sort them out. That sounds pretty reasonable. The names, yeah, let's stick with the letters. I mean, it all made sense. Beginning and end of all things, right? Entangled. Jindi, Ptah, Nemesis. It all seemed to add up. If I took the first and last letter for each name, you get X-I-P-H-N-S. Mix them up and you probably get something. But what? What did that unscramble to? I felt like I was still missing something. Don't you need to look more at the inscription? It mentioned knowing who was asking the question for whatever it was worth. I have to hit that. Wait. Asking the question? Myths? Yes. X-I-P-H-N-S, my ass. It's Sphinx, baby. I only got 1 chip. But I'll take it. I clap my hands together. I've got it. It's because I was learning how it works. That's quite a nice minigame. I quite like that one. I've got the answer. You do? That was fast. What can I say? Maybe I'm not so useless after all. Yeah, spit out the answer first and we can assess that on that front. Alright, so, like I said, the quote is the key. At first glance, it looks like a bunch of metaphoric nothingness. But, as usual in the case with riddles like these, it's actually quite literal. The beginning and end of all things are all mixed up. It's talking about very specific beginnings and ends. Specifically the beginning and ends of all the names. Huh? Sorry, I don't know if I'm following. That's fine. Look, Jindy starts with X and ends with I. Ptah starts with P and ends with H. Oh, I see. So then for Nemesis it starts with N and ends with S. You can figure that out, alright. Putting it all together we get XIPHNS. Which, the fuck does that mean? Remember the beginning and ends are mixed up. Those letters form an anagram, specifically Sphinx. Sphinx? Yeah, makes sense. It's another mythological thing. And more to the point, it addresses the first part of the quote. To find the answer you must first know who's asking the question. We know who's asking the question. The Sphinx. Oh. I know this is the Sphinx's riddle, right? I learned about this when I was a kid. Exactly, the specific names might be too niche, but I think that most people have heard the Sphinx's riddle at some point or another. What has 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the middle, and 3 in the evening? Man. I always thought that was a stupid riddle. So did I, but the point is, we know what we're answering now. We just need to represent the Sphinx's riddle with what we have. Conveniently enough, there are 3 phases of man, and 3 mannequins we can manipulate here. And each of the mannequins have a clock above them signaling the time of day. How can you tell which is morning and which is night? I mean, it doesn't specify AM or PM, so it could be 6:30 AM and 8 PM or 6:30 PM and 8 AM. I think the second option is a bit more in line with the typical definitions of morning and eve. And more to the point, I know it's the second interpretation because that's what lines up with the next step of the riddle. And your fucking cool way of delivering this is really starting to get under my skin. Sorry, bad habit of mine. Anyways, we've got to make sure that in the morning, man has 4 legs, in the afternoon it has 2, and in the night it has 3. Now, the next bit is a little bullshit, but then again, so is the original puzzle. Right now, Ptah, the one representing evening, already has 3 legs. See the actual 2 legs in the hammer that's touching the pedestal. So to line the rest of the riddle up nicely, I walked over to Nemesis and wrested the shield out of her hand. Then I walked over to Shindy. Shindy, who represents the middle of the day, has just 2 legs. I took the bow staff out of his hands. For those destined to rule, the truth is easily grasped. Keyword, grasped. I worked over to Nemesis and put the bow staff in her now free hand. It fit effortlessly. With this, Nemesis now, the one representing morning, has 4 legs. 2 normal ones, a spear that touches the pedestal, and now the staff that touches the pedestal. Riddle solved. Huh. Alright, pretty neat, I gotta say. But one little issue, and that is, nothing's happening. She was right. I looked around, but nothing looked different. Had I messed up somewhere? Or, I went back over to Nemesis, took the bow staff out of her hand, turned it 180 degrees and put it right back. As soon as the staff touched the pedestal, I heard an audible click. See? That right there is shitty puzzle design. Whoa. What happened? Well, the noise seemed to come from the middle of the room. The only thing in the middle of the room was the plaque, so I bent down, grabbed the side of the plaque and tried lifting it up. I was worried that again, I was about to make an ass of myself. However, to my pleasant surprise, I was able to lift the oversized plaque up and around the hinge, revealing a dark passageway down. Underneath this plaque, a stone staircase led down to a dark cellar of unknown prospects. Voila! Secret tunnel. Damn! This is... Words evaded Lara, and I couldn't blame her. She'd said this is the type of thing that only happened in fiction, and seeing with my own eyes, I couldn't help but agree. It was kind of unbelievable. Right at the top of the stairs where the light still reached, I noticed a big switch attached to something like a fuse box. It wasn't labelled, but I had a decent guess as to what it did. If I understood the mechanism well enough, at normal times there should have been some sort of magnetic lock keeping this plaque in place, preventing it from being opened outward like this. The tip of that bow staff probably has some magnets in it, so that when it was placed in direct contact with that section of the pedestal, the plaque's lock disengaged. However, with this setup, if someone was down below on the stairs, and somebody up here flipped the plaque down and removed the bow staff, the person below could very well get trapped. My guess was that the switch was a secondary failsafe. It flipped. The lock would also disengage. But again, just a guess. So, should we head down into the unknown? Gotta be real with you, I'm a high-ranking duet member and even I'm creeped out by that passageway. The feeling's mutual, trust me. But you're the one talking about how dangerous that dangerous thing is. I know. Alright then. Against my better judgment, I guess that's what we're doing. Lara took a deep breath in and began to walk down the stone stairs, walking into the black abyss. Some voices in the back of my brain shouted out telling me that this is my last chance to turn back around. That if I went down those stairs, I'd be crossing some threshold that couldn't be undone. That my discovery of the passageway and my choice to go down would fundamentally change my destiny. But I wasn't one to be bossed around by voices in the back of my head. I took a step into the darkness. Well, wasn't that just a blast? It was a nice little boat ride, a stroll through some spooky woods, and to top it off, a fun little escape room puzzle for Lara and Mercury. Isn't that just fun? Yeah. Right? Bring your cutie along. What do you know? That's a grade A date. Really, those two should be thankful to Thane for the opportunity. As fun as the journey was, though, you have to take a pause at the destination. I'm in a secret bunker in the house of a bajillionaire in the middle of the woods. Can't say there are many super fun endings to that story. Except if it's an elaborate wine cellar. That's the one. That's the actually fun option that might be. But I kind of doubt it. Oh, you know what this place is perfect for? A bet. Yeah, a bet about what's in the basement. That sounds adequately spooky. Assuming it's a basement in the first place. Which now, I say that, I'm not sure. Could be a tunnel. Whatever, a tunnel is its own type of basement. I'm rolling with it. It's a little open-ended, huh? That's a bit of a problem. Alright, I'll get more specific. It's better on whether or not there's someone down there. I don't care in what condition. Dead, in prison, enjoying a fine wine, whatever. I just want to know if you think there's currently somebody in the cellar. If you're asking that, then probably. Yes. Fun. I like that. I hope you're right. But how confident are you in that guess? Time to find out. 3. Great. Well, only one way to resolve that bet. You have to see what lurks below. In the shadows. Could be a ghost. Ooh, spooky. Oh, right, you don't believe in ghosts. That's boring. Hey, remember my answer from before. I like that. Alright, we're going to wrap this one up here because we are super duper out of time. Sorry, I just wanted to get to the end of the chapter. It's nice to end it here on the card screen. So maybe I'll just make an effort to do that unless it goes too long. So if it's a little bit short, a little bit long, I'll try to end here on the card screen. It's a nice, great place to end it, you know? Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.